Did you really think the 2008 presidential primary election would be over by now? I mean, did you think that the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primaries would completely seal the deal for one candidate on each side of the aisle and shore up the inevitability of their candidacy? I mean, come on. Well, actually, a lot of people did. But with candidates on both sides of the aisle splitting these early contests, really the primaries thus far have only served to winnow the field a bit, not to establish a clear frontrunner. And while primaries in Michigan and Nevada and South Carolina and Florida will continue to send signals across the nation, this primary election is really coming down to one big day, and that's Super Tuesday, February 5th. On February 5th, 24 different states will be holding primary elections or caucuses, the highest number in American history, and more than double than were held back in 2004. In fact, this year's Super Tuesday is so big that the mainstream media is coming up with special names to signify just how big it is, including Super Duper Tuesday, Giga Tuesday, Mega Giga Tuesday, Tsunami Tuesday, and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Tuesday. Well, you get the picture. This is one big day in American politics. But why? Super Tuesday came to prominence back in 1988 when the Democratic Party decided they wanted to make sure that a more moderate candidate emerged from the primary process. So they held 9 different southern state primaries in the same day, thinking that the broader the number of primaries in one day, the more moderate candidate would emerge. Well, it didn't work, actually. Michael Dukakis got nominated, but the idea stuck around, and there's been a Super Tuesday every presidential election cycle since the 1980s. Now, this year, things kicked into hyperdrive. Just a year ago, only 8 states were scheduled to hold their primaries on February 5th, but when California and some other larger states moved their primary to that day to make sure that their votes were more significant, there was an electoral rush to February 5th, and now 24 different states are holding their primaries on February 5th, including Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Kansas, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Utah, West Virginia. Now, how does this all work? Well, on both sides of the aisle, you need to get at least half of the national delegates to win the nomination for your party. So on the Democratic side, that means half of about 4,000, and on the Republican side, that means half of about, 2,380. So these delegates are awarded based on a proportional system, but in most cases you actually have to get at least 15% of the vote from that state in order to get any delegates at all. But the Democrats do something slightly different. They have something called superdelegates, or pleos. A pleo is a party leader or elected official, and essentially someone from within the party whose vote counts as well alongside the rest of the delegates. It's essentially a system to make sure that the party leaders have a say in who the nominee is. This came actually out of the 1984 election when, just 4 years earlier, Jimmy Carter had lost in a landslide to Ronald Reagan. The party wanted to make sure, well, let's make sure we get our say in here as well, not just leave it all up to the masses. So on the Democratic side, there are these pleos, and pleos account for roughly 20% of the total delegates. Keynote there is that Hillary Clinton is seen to have a large advantage with these superdelegates. Now, if no candidate gets at least half of the delegates by the time that their party conventions happen next summer, then the delegates that are actually nominated to go to the convention have to duke it out and decide who the nominee is going to be. But Super Tuesday, February 5th, has so many delegates at stake, over 2,000 on the Democratic side and over 1,000 on the Republican side, that this day will be an enormous factor in who gets the nominations for both parties. And here at YouTube, we're going to help you be part of the action. If you have videos from the campaign trail or political opinions or analysis or anything related to what's taking place on February 5th, upload it to YouTube and then go to our special Super Tuesday channel, which is youtube.com/supertuesday, and submit your video there. You can even show us where you're from so we can follow the videos across the United States on a Google map we have embedded on that page. In addition to voter videos, we'll also have videos from news organizations and the candidates on the You Choose 08 platform so that you can follow the campaign trail across the country as we approach this huge day on February 5th. Super Duper Tuesday is a huge day in the 2008 presidential election, and here on YouTube you can follow it through video, youtube.com/supertuesday. Oh, and if you're in one of the 24 states that votes on February 5th, get out and vote!